Pandit Biswajit Roy Chowdhury is a brilliant Sarod player, one of the best in India. His music is moving, lyrical, it has poise, it comes straight from the heart. These are the characteristics of a maestro. This is going to be a very special interview demonstration with Pandit Biswajit Roy Chowdhury. You're watching Our Talk, I'm Jujhar Singh. Biswajit ji, thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you, welcome.
Now, you know, I've heard a range of comments about you. Brilliant, mesmerizing. He's struggled for many years. Then there's one student of yours who said a few years ago, you know, look at the way he looks. He looks like a film star.
Dear me, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. It is a surprise to me.
You're being modest. But let me ask you, you started learning the sitar and the sarod in 1966 at the age of 10 from your father, Ranajit Roy Chowdhury.
True. My father was a amateur sarod player, let me begin by saying that.
Yeah.
And
But he was a very serious sarod player.
Yes. And he
apart from being a chemistry teacher at college.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
That's what I said, that my father was not a professional sarod player, having learned the art from the maestros like Ustad Hafiz Ali Khan. And he was a top grade sarod player from the All India Radio. That's the only grading that we do, and that's the highest grading one could get. So we had music in our family.
But you started learning the sitar and the sarod. How did you decide to stick to the sarod?
My father was a sarod player. I didn't have a small sarod, and the urge to play some instrument was so much that I could lay my hands onto a sitar, which was more easily available. Even now, sitar is a more easily available instrument. So that's how I started with sitar. But then when I grew up a bit more, like 12 or 13, in high school, I started playing the sarod.
And then you were introduced to the sitar player, Pandit Indranil Bhattacharya. So here now was a sarod player learning from a sitar player.
True, very true. Very nicely put. Indranil Bhattacharya was one of the best students of Ustad Alauddin Khan Sahab.
Of Maihar Gharana.
Of the Maihar Gharana.
Yeah. So your guru learned from Baba Alauddin Khan of Maihar Gharana. Alauddin Khan's other students included his son Ali Akbar Khan, his daughter Annapurna Devi, and Ravi Shankar.
Yeah.
Now this must have been a fascinating exposure for you to the Maihar Gharana.
Absolutely true. It was in 1973-74 that I went to Indranil Bhattacharya, and believe you me, one could see Ali Akbar Khan sitting with him early in the morning, having sipping the cup of morning tea, or a Ravi Shankar ji coming and practicing with him.
Biswajit ji, what are the main characteristics of this famous Maihar Gharana? What did you get being exposed to this Gharana?
The Maihar Gharana specializes on very elaborate, very clear-cut divisions in the Alap Jol Jhala, which one does not learn from anywhere else, I would say. Apart from that, the Maihar Gharana specializes on what we call lekari, different rhythmic trickery, and trying to fit fives and six and sevens, different divisions in one beat. That's called the vilambit. So they specializes on that. Apart from that, it has its own special compositions, and in those compositions, lots of techniques are being involved. Like I'll show you something.
Yeah, great.
A composition which I learned from Indranil Bhattacharya, very full of what we call krintan, a special technique which is played on the left hand. See, these are the techniques that we play a lot.
Beautiful. Some of the techniques you learned from the Meher Gharana.
Yes.
And then in 1978, the Sarod Maestro Ustad Amjad Ali Khan spotted you.
Yeah.
What happened? How did that happen?
There is an interesting story behind it. Right from my childhood, I was a fan of Ustad Amjad Ali Khan. And that was the period when he was perhaps at his best. The most dazzling musician one could think of was Ustad Amjad Ali Khan during the early 70s, late 60s to early 70s. And there would be a record in the market and it will be sold off within days. So we used to pick up those records and write down the notations and try and practice them. So once I reproduced almost a record in a concert in which he was the concluding artist. And he got to know about it. Then he wanted to find out who this person was. Didn't know that it was a schoolboy. And it really made him very happy and startled.
And Ustad Amjad Ali Khan is the 6th generation of the Senia Bangash Gharana.
True.
Now, what did that bring to your Sarod then?
Ustad Amjad Ali Khan is one of the finest Sarod players ever born in the history of Sarod playing. You see, before Ustad Amjad Ali Khan, I did not know the professional part of music, if you know what I mean. That for me, music was something one goes twice a week to learn from a teacher, take it seriously. But the professional aspect, right from the instrument itself, the strings, the plectrum, the way of playing, down to the nails, these things to play, the substance, the concert, the clothes. Everything was completely new to me. I was still in my college, and it was Ustad Amjad Ali Khan sir.
He sort of polished you up.
He made me, if I may use that word. Very true. And musically speaking, he himself believes in composition playing, what he called rachanaye, bandishes. That music should have its should be presented in an edited fashion. Substance should be more important. Composition play the most important role. These are the subjects, musically speaking, that I didn't know much about. And here was one person who was teaching me these things about the more professional part of Indian classical music.
Then in 1982 came a big turning point in your career. The great vocalist Pandit Mallikarjun Mansur of the Jaipur Atroli Gharana took a very strong interest in you. And in 1983, he formally made you a student. Now my question to you is that why did you, a Sarod player, go out and seek a vocalist, albeit a very great vocalist?
Going to Mansur was not a plan. It was a chance. I met him somewhere in a concert, asked him if I could ask few questions. Being a young instrumentalist, would he give any importance to that or not? Mansur was one who was all his life looking for opportunities to discuss or sing music. So here was one boy who was asking him questions on music. He readily accepted that. And thus started our relationship.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, it's happened before. I mean, you've had the case of, for example, Annapurna Devi, who's a Surbahar player, teaching Pandit Hari Prasad Chaurasia, a flutist. But here was a vocalist teaching an instrumentalist.
True. No. We are talking about here, see, after a point when you know the techniques, then the instrument or vocal or then it's music that we are talking about. Then it's raga, it's music. Here was one person enormously knowledgeable, perhaps the most during that period, even in our times, who was readily available to me, giving all the secrets and was ready to answer any question, musical question that I would ask him. So here was an opportunity for me.
Mallikarjun Mansur was a great master of, the old world traditions. How much did he sort of bring more austerity, more poise to your instrument?
Very true, very true. This is exactly what perhaps is the substance of the whole thing. That he did bring that sense of, you see, I keep on saying one thing, मंसूर जी से मैंने क्या सीखा वो important नहीं है, लेकिन मैंने सेवा किया. There is a thing in our culture, we call it sangat, sahvas, to be together, and with that there are certain things that are inculcated in you, that you inculcate from the other person. Mansur was one such person. Looking at the Tanpura, a small anecdote comes into my mind. Immediately after my marriage, within a week, Mansurji had to come and stay with me. I had taken up a 3-bedroom big house in Basant Vihar. Very proudly, I welcome him, and he goes to each room, and there goes my commentary behind him. This is the master bedroom, this is the big bathroom, and so on. And he opens every door, and finally he comes to the middle of the sitting room, a huge living room, and he said, "Tumhara Tanpura kidhar hai?" So his interest was not the size of the bedroom or
in your new house.
Yeah,
he was looking for where the instruments
where
were.
the only Tanpura kidhar hai tumhara. These are the things. Now they don't have a direct impact on a concert playing, or on the market, or on the profession itself, but you know what I mean, that it makes you a human being. It makes you a musician, and that's what I'm indebted to Mansurji for.
Mansurji was also a master of many rare rags, and
True.
I believe he passed on many of them to you as well.
True, very true. He was a student of a very special gharana called Jaipur Atroli Gharana,
Yes.
who specializes on these rare ragas.
But I want to ask you, because there are hundreds of rags, in fact there are probably thousands of rags. What is it that makes a rag, more popular and makes other rags more rare?
In case of any rarity, the thing is because of the availability. If a thing is less available, it does get rare. So there are many such ragas which were not common to many musicians. A, because of their complexities, they are not easily to be mastered or learned. Secondly, because some of them were bad, some of them were not to be learned. So that which is rare all the time may not be great, but certainly there are rare ragas which are not easy to learn or teach, and because of the complex nature of the framework of the phrases, if you know what I mean. And that's how Mansur was a master of rare ragas. For instance, one knows about bihag, which is a common simple rag, but to know about pat bihag, where there are 5 ragas intervened together to bihag, into bihag, to make it pat bihag. So these are the things which make a raga rare, and here was one master who was absolutely master of these ragas very well.
Which one of these could we get a little glimpse of, perhaps?
I would play, as we are talking about, Bihagda. Bihagda is again a very rare rag if you take the instrumental section. We have not heard anyone play Bihagda, excepting one recording of Ustad Vilayat Khan Sahab. And here you will see that there is one particular note, here in this case Komal Li, which is played so subtly, so beautifully in Bihag.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, what's amazing is that, number one, you've drawn influences from 3 gharanas of Indian classical music, Mayar Gharana, Senia Bangish Gharana, and the Jaipur Atroli Gharana. But number 2, you're a slave to none of the 3 gharanas. You've developed your own vocabulary on the Sarod.
I wouldn't say that it was a conscious decision.
Yeah.
But as one goes in life, certain things are being attached and certain things are being eliminated off, and a person grows. So I wouldn't say that I really did it consciously, but yes, I play my own music.
Your music is about deep sensitivity and striking lyricism.
Well, if you put it that way.
How would you put it? What is your vocabulary on the Sarod now?
True. I would like to put it in a very, if I talk about the practical perspective of it, I believe in compositions the most, but I certainly believe that the techniques and the instrumentalization of the entire ragdari, the presentation should not overburden the audience or the person who is playing it. In fact, music is not the instrument or the raga or the techniques, but it's more about lyrically talking about it, if you know what I mean.
It's the lyricism, the sensitivity, what it brings out in your heart and in the heart of the listeners.
True, true. Within the framework of the composition.
It'd be so nice to hear something more from you.
I will. We'll play a small composition in very common composition in rag called Chayanat.
Thank you.
Thank you so
very
much.
much.
Thank you.
Biswajit ji, let's now talk about the different styles of Hindustani classical music. You basically play the Khyal style of music. You know, Khyal is associated with emotionalism, romanticism, it has embellishments. It's a dominant, most popular style today. But you also play the other classical styles like Dhrupad and Tarana. What is the difference between these different styles? I'm wondering if you can show us, please.
Khyal is the most, as you said, the most popular, the most widely used form of Indian classical music today.
Yeah.
But definitely the Dhrupad, the Dhrupad came earlier.
Yeah.
And it was practiced as the temple, and it was more austere.
More meditative.
More meditative.
Yeah.
And didn't have those embellishments, ornamentations, whatever it had,
Which Khyal has.
which Khyal has.
Yeah.
So whatever we would not have a murki, for instance.
This is in Khyal,
yeah,
but not in Dhrupad.
Yeah, the Khyal, the Dhrupad would use. And also, Khyal do not have so much of alap, non-rhythmic portion, whereas Dhrupad has a long non-rhythmic part, which is called the alap. So
because Dhrupad is more meditative, and devotional.
yes, so they had to go into what they call the alap part of it,
Yes.
which was completely devoid of ornamentation, long stretch means, and coming out with the basic structure of the raga without anything else. There was nothing else but the raga itself, and that was Dhrupad. So naturally, more sort of ornamented music came into existence, liked by the musician as well as by the audience.
Yeah, yeah.
So the 20th century saw the huge appeal of the Khyal singing, but one would say that the root of Indian classical music still we will have to accept that it is with the Dhrupad.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's another style of classical music, Tarana. Now, the vocalists in Tarana use syllables or bowls more than words.
Yes.
But how does that work on instruments like the Sarod?
See, Tarana are actually a few syllables, Tara de re na, na tum tanana, kind of meaningless syllables, what we call meaningless. But there were research done by Ustad Amir Khan Sahab, one of the most important vocalists of the 20th century, who believed that every tarana, every syllable chosen also have a meaning to it.
If a Sarod player is to play Tarana style, what would that mean?
Udrata na de re na doim na de re deim, udrata na de re na. Udrata na de re na dim ta de re na, udrata na de re na dim ta de re na, ta da re da ni, ta ta ni re re da, trida na ta na da na de re na, udrata na de re na dim de re na.
Wonderful example of Tarana. So you play all these different styles of classical music, but you're basically a Khyal musician, and that's what you focus on.
Now we would say that we are basically instrumentalists who would certainly get the maximum from the Khyal music. Not exactly practitioner of Khyal music in that sense. We are instrumentalist, but we borrow it maximum from the Khyal singing. Yes.
Biswajit, thank you very much for joining us today.
It was a pleasure.
It's a great pleasure for us, and I'm just wondering if you can leave us with something, it'll be wonderful.
Thank you so much. I'll play Kamod.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.